There is a path you may need to release before the thing you desire can finally reach you. Not the desire itself, not the vision you have been carrying, not the condition you have been asking Source to deliver. The path, the specific route you have gripped so tightly that your hands cannot open to receive what is already moving toward you. This is not a teaching about giving up. This is a teaching about the difference between the promise and the packaging. The desire is sacred, the route is flexible, and until you understand that distinction at the deepest level, you will continue holding one door closed while calling it faith. The grip may be the problem. Say that again to yourself slowly. The desire may be perfectly aligned with spiritual law. The vision may be clear and worthy, and supported by the invisible supply behind all things. But the grip, the rigid insistence that wealth, provision, and the answer must arrive through this specific person, this specific job, this specific platform, this specific plan, this specific timeline. That grip is not faith. It is fear dressed in familiar clothing. Wallace Wattles saw this error at the root of so much human suffering. And today you will see it too, perhaps for the first time with full clarity. Right now there is something you are holding on to. You may not call it an obsession. You may call it commitment, loyalty, strategy, or perseverance. But if you are honest with yourself, somewhere beneath those dignified words is a tight, anxious grip around one specific route to your desire. Maybe it is a job that once provided and now feels unstable, but you cannot imagine supply coming from anywhere else. Maybe it is a business model that you built your identity around, and the thought of changing it feels like erasing yourself. Maybe it is a client, a partner, a platform, or an opportunity that has not yet confirmed what you need from it. And still you wait, eyes fixed, options narrowing, hope quietly compressing into that one corridor. The route has become the world. Here is the pain underneath the grip. You have quietly made a terrible agreement with yourself. You have told yourself, perhaps without words, that if this path fails, everything fails. That if this door closes, no other door exists. That if this person leaves, provision leaves with them. That if this strategy stops working, the desire itself has been disproved. You have fused the route to the result so completely that they are no longer two separate things in your mind. They are one. And because they are one, you cannot release the route without feeling you are releasing the dream. That fusion is not faith. That fusion is the hidden wall between you and the thing you have been asking for. The exhaustion you feel right now, the sleeplessness, the over-planning, the constant monitoring of one channel, the obsessive calculation of whether this particular path is still viable, that exhaustion is not the price of ambition. It is the cost of a misidentification. You have identified the route as the source. You have looked at the channel and called it God. You have watched one door and forgotten that doors are not the provider. The provider is invisible, limitless, and not confined to the geography of what you can currently see. Something in you already knows this. That is why you are here, and that is why this teaching must go all the way to the root. Wallace Wattles, writing in the early years of the 20th century, understood something about human nature that most prosperity teachers before and after him struggled to articulate with such precision. He understood that the great obstacle between a person and their desire was rarely the absence of supply. It was the rigidity of expectation about the shape supply must take. He taught about holding a clear and definite mental image of the desired condition. Not a vague hope, not a general wish. A precise, vivid, held image of the life condition you intend to receive. That clarity of vision, he insisted, was essential. But the route, the visible channel, the specific mechanism that was never meant to be carved in stone. The formless substance, as he called it, moves through channels the conscious mind cannot always predict or control. Wattles understood that the desired condition and the path to it are not the same thing. And yet the greatest suffering of spiritual students throughout every era has been the collapse of these two into one. The student begins with a vision. The vision meets an obstacle. The obstacle is on a specific path. And rather than keeping the vision and releasing the path, the student grips the path because they fear the vision cannot survive without it. This is the error. This is the precise misunderstanding that today's teaching is designed to dissolve from the inside out. By the time this teaching is finished, You will not merely understand the difference between the promise and the path. You will feel it deeply enough to act on it. Here is the promise of this teaching. When you are finished, you will know how to hold the vision with full clarity and deep conviction, while releasing the rigid attachment to one specific route. You will understand what it means to command the condition without being enslaved to the method. You will know the difference between surrendering the desire and releasing the path. And you will have a practical protocol drawn from the spirit of Wattles's teachings that you can apply today, not in theory, not in some future moment when fear is less pressing, but today, in the specific situation where you are currently gripping something that may need to be gently, faithfully, and powerfully released. The visible world speaks with great authority. It points to what exists and says, this is what is possible. It points to one job and says, this is where your income lives. It points to one client and says, this is the person who sustains you. It points to one platform and says, this is the mechanism through which your work reaches the world. And the mind, which can only operate on what it can see and calculate, receives these reports from the visible world and begins to build its entire understanding of supply around them. The visible world is very convincing. The trouble is that the visible world is not the source. It is a surface. It is the outer expression of an invisible reality that operates beneath it, above it, and completely beyond it. When one job feels threatened, the mind does not say the source is redirecting my supply. The mind says my supply is in danger because the mind has placed the source inside the job. It has looked at the visible channel and called it the origin. When the channel trembles, the mind experiences it as the source withdrawing. But the source has not moved. The source does not tremble. The source does not depend on any single visible arrangement to maintain its outflow toward a person who is properly aligned. The job was never the source. The job was the current channel. And channels can change, while the source remains perfectly constant. Think about the belief that operates in the background when one specific person is seen as the channel of supply. A business owner waits for one large client to confirm a contract. A creative professional depends on one relationship to access their market. A worker trusts one manager to recognize their value. When that person hesitates, delays, withdraws, or simply does not deliver the expected signal, the receiver does not say, source is capable of opening another channel. The receiver says, the channel is failing and therefore I am in danger. The person has become the source in the receiver's mind, and no person is the source, not one. No person has the final authority over what the invisible supply can deliver to you. There is a belief operating in millions of minds right now that says, if this business model fails, the desire dies. That if the strategy that once worked has stopped working, there is no other strategy worthy of the desire. This is the root becoming an idol. The business model was a vehicle. The strategy was a tool. The desire existed before the model. The desire does not require any one model to survive. The formless substance does not have a policy that says a specific desire can only be fulfilled through a specific structure. That policy exists only in the mind of the one who has stopped trusting the source and started trusting the root. Consider the platform. A creator pours years into one digital space. That space shifts, the audience moves, the algorithm changes, and the creator's response is grief, panic, and the certainty that the desire has been destroyed. Not redirected. Destroyed. Because the platform was not being used as a channel, it was being worshipped as a source. The identity had merged with the mechanism, and when the mechanism changed, the self felt annihilated. But the desire, the genuine desire to create, to reach people, to build something meaningful, that desire never required one platform to survive. The source always had other doors. The problem was that the creator had stopped seeing them. When a timeline passes, something brutal happens in the mind. The mind says, it is over. This was the window. This was the moment. This was the year, the season, the period when the thing was supposed to arrive. And now that the timeline has passed, the mind declares the desire dead. But the desired condition does not have a mortality date assigned by one arbitrary plan. The source is not operating on the timeline the mind constructed out of fear and urgency. The timeline was a plan. The desire is older and more persistent than any plan. Releasing the timeline does not kill the desire. It removes the deadline that was suffocating the desire's arrival. When one path closes, and the mind interprets it as the source refusing, a second error compounds the first. Not only has the viewer confused the route with the source, they have now interpreted the closing of a specific door as a divine verdict against the desire. Source has said no, the mind concludes, but Source did not say no to the desire. Source may have redirected the delivery. A closed door is not a cancelled promise. A closed door may be protection. It may be preparation. It may be the only way to turn the receiver toward the open door that the mind, fixated on the closed one, could not see. The route closing is not the source leaving. It may be the source arriving in a form the mind was not expecting. The route becomes an idol. That is the precise diagnosis of the visible supply trap. Not that the viewer is foolish or spiritually naive, but that the mind, under the pressure of fear, has performed a substitution. It has quietly replaced the infinite invisible source with a finite visible arrangement. And once that substitution has been made, every trembling of the visible arrangement feels like a cosmic threat. Every closed door feels like abandonment. Every changed plan feels like defeat. And the viewer, who came to spiritual prosperity seeking peace and trust and divine supply, finds themselves more anxious than ever because they have placed their entire faith in something that was never designed to bear it. If you have felt this before, the anxiety of watching one path, the exhaustion of calculating whether one route is still viable, the grief of a door that seemed to close before the desire arrived, then you already know the cost of confusing the channel with the source, and somewhere inside you there is a readiness, not a surrender of the dream, not a resignation of the desire, a willingness to open the hand that has been gripping one route so tightly that new keys cannot be received. If that readiness is present in you right now, even in the smallest measure, let it be spoken. Let it become a declaration. Let it become the beginning of a new spiritual agreement. If you are ready to hold the vision without worshipping the route, comment the words, "I release the path," not as a performance, not as a mechanical gesture, but as a genuine inner statement directed toward the source behind all visible channels. Those 4 words carry real spiritual weight when they come from a place of sincere faith rather than casual agreement. They signal to the deepest part of your inner life that the desire is still held, that the vision is still clear, but that the cage of one specific route is being opened. Say them now. Write them now. Let this moment be the first movement in a new direction. Anxiety is the first and most constant cost of path attachment. When the route is the source, every signal from that route becomes either a spiritual promise or a spiritual threat. The morning news, the inbox, the phone notification, the market report, the client's tone in a message, all of it becomes a stream of omens that the anxious mind reads for evidence about whether supply is safe. This is not faith. This is divination performed on a single visible channel. And the cost of it is an inner life that never rests, never trusts, and never reaches the quiet certainty that Wattles called the mental state from which all right action flows. Obsession is the second cost. The mind that has given one route the status of source will return to that route compulsively. It will check it. It will analyze it. It will rehearse conversations about it. It will lie awake at 3 in the morning calculating its signals and variables. The viewer knows this feeling. They have lived it. And they know that the obsession never produces clarity. It produces more obsession. Because obsession is not the same as focus. Obsession is focus turned inward on fear. Real focus moves with trust. Obsession moves in circles around a fixed point of terror. The third cost is the inability to see new doors. This is perhaps the most practically devastating consequence of path attachment. When the eyes are fixed on one route, the peripheral vision of the soul closes. New channels appear, unexpected ones, strange ones, ones that do not look like the thing the viewer imagined, and they are invisible to the person who is still staring at the old door. The viewer does not even know they are rejecting new delivery. They are simply too narrowed by attachment to perceive that something else is moving. The source may be opening 3 new doors while the viewer sits vigil at the one that is closed, weeping and calculating. The fourth cost is resentment. When a specific path is seen as the mechanism of divine promise, and that path fails to deliver, the resentment that follows is not merely disappointment, it becomes a spiritual grievance. The viewer resents the employer, the client, the partner, the platform, the opportunity, the market, or the era. They feel betrayed not by a channel but by a source, and because the resentment carries that weight, it does not resolve easily. It spreads. It colors other channels. It makes the viewer suspicious of new possibilities because they are afraid of being betrayed again. Resentment is the residue of misplaced trust. Desperation is the fifth cost, and it is both painful and counterproductive. When one path is seen as the only path, and that path becomes uncertain, the viewer becomes desperate. Desperation changes the quality of every action. The email sent from desperation reads differently than the email sent from trust. The conversation held from desperation produces a different result than the conversation held from certainty. Desperation is a frequency. It is a signal sent outward through every interaction, and it repels the very thing it is reaching for. Wattles was precise about this. The inner state of the giver determines the character of the action. An action born from desperate gripping cannot carry the same power as an action born from calm, faithful expectation. Forcing is the sixth cost. Path attachment produces a specific kind of action that feels productive but is actually destructive. It is the action of trying to force a closed door open through sheer repetition and pressure. More effort on the same strategy that stopped working. More contact with the person who has already signaled they are not the channel. More investment in the platform that has already shown it is not the vehicle. Forcing is not the certain way. The certain way requires action on the nearest open door, not continued assault on a closed one. Forcing does not accelerate delivery. It delays it because it keeps the viewer's energy locked inside a route that source has already moved beyond. Fear of change is the seventh cost. The viewer who has made one path their source will experience every signal of change as a direct spiritual threat. Change becomes the enemy. Not because change is inherently bad, but because change threatens the specific arrangement the viewer has confused with divine provision. And so, the viewer resists change, argues with change, negotiates with change, and delays change, even when the change being offered is the very thing that would open the door to the desired condition. Fear of change is not caution, it is path worship in its most visible form. Grief before loss is the eighth cost. Perhaps the strangest and most spiritually telling cost of path attachment is the grief the viewer begins to feel before anything has actually been lost. The path has not yet closed. The channel has not yet gone silent. But the viewer, sensing a possible change, begins grieving in advance. They begin mourning the path as though it is already gone. And this anticipatory grief, carried inside the body and the energy and the mental state of the viewer, actually interferes with the flow of supply through that very path. The grief signal communicates to the environment what the mind fears, and the environment begins to reflect it. Over-control is the ninth cost. The more frightened the viewer becomes about one path, the more they attempt to control every variable of that path. They try to manage outcomes. They try to force timing. They try to script conversations. They try to remove all uncertainty from the route they have selected as their only channel of supply. But over-control is the opposite of trust. Over-control says, I must manage this, because if I release it, it will fail. Trust says, I act faithfully in my area of right action, and I allow source to move through the channels source has chosen. Over-control seals the very openings through which the invisible supply would naturally flow. The 10th cost is one of the most spiritually serious. The habit of accusing source when one path shifts. The viewer who has placed source inside one visible route will, when that route changes, interpret the change as source withdrawing, abandoning or punishing. They will say or feel that they prayed and were ignored, that they trusted and were abandoned, that the spiritual law they had been following has failed them. But source did not fail them. The path changed, and the path was never source. This accusation against the divine, though it is born of pain and misunderstanding rather than malice, creates a spiritual condition of distrust that makes receiving from any channel significantly more difficult. The viewer ends in a worse position than before, not because the desire has been refused, but because the trust that is required for receiving has been wounded by the misdirected accusation. Wallace Wattles was very clear. He said the vision must be definite. He did not say the path must be definite. He said the mental image of the desired condition should be clear, precise, held with unwavering intention, and sustained with gratitude. He was speaking about the condition, the life you wish to live, the state of being you wish to inhabit, the financial reality, the relationship, the creative expression, the contribution, whatever it was. That thing must be seen clearly and held firmly. The vision is the seed. The vision is the command. The vision is what the formless substance responds to when it moves through the world to deliver what has been mentally received. But the root is something else entirely. The root is the outer expression of the inner command. It is one possible pathway through which the delivery might move, and Wattles, who understood the nature of the formless substance and how it operates through an infinite variety of channels, knew that the particular outer expression is not the command itself. The command lives at the level of vision. The root lives at the level of circumstance, and circumstance is the most flexible thing in the universe. Circumstance changes constantly. It responds to invisible forces and invisible adjustments that no conscious mind can fully monitor or predict. The root must therefore remain open if the delivery is to find its way through. Here is what the Master really taught about desire. It gives direction. The desire you carry is not an accident. It is not a random fantasy. It is a spiritual signal that indicates both what the soul is capable of receiving and what the supply behind all things is capable of delivering. The desire is directional. It points toward a condition, and that condition can be approached from many angles, through many doors, over many kinds of terrain. The desire does not require one specific road. The desire requires that you remain pointed toward the condition while trusting Source to select the best available route through the current landscape of possibility. Source chooses channels. This is not a diminishment of human responsibility. It is a clarification of the division of labor between the human and the divine. The human holds the vision. The human acts on the nearest open door. The human maintains the inner state of grateful, faithful expectancy. But the selection of channels, the arrangement of circumstances, the timing and sequence of openings that belongs to the intelligence that operates beneath and through all visible reality. To demand that Source use only the channel the mind has approved is to place the limited human intellect in charge of logistics that the unlimited formless intelligence is far better equipped to manage. The viewer acts where they are. This is perhaps the most practically important element of what Wattles taught. You do not wait at the closed door. You do not sit immobile because the path you chose is no longer moving. You act, but you act where you are, with what is actually in front of you, through the door that is actually open right now, not through the door you wish were open. Acting where you are is not resignation. It is the faithful response to present reality while holding the vision of desired reality. It is the posture that keeps you in motion without trapping you in the obsession of one route. New doors may appear, and they may appear in places and in forms that the mind, fixed on the old door, would never have considered. A new relationship, a different industry, an unexpected opportunity, a completely different approach to the desired condition. Wattles's teaching creates a mind that remains perpetually available to these appearances, not because the viewer has given up the desire, but because they have released the insistence on one route. That availability is not passive. It is alert. It is spiritually awake to the possibility that the Source is moving in directions the plan did not include. Old doors may close. And when they do, the spiritually educated response is not grief and accusation. It is attention. A closed door is information. It is a signal from the arrangement of things that the route in question has served its purpose or was never the right route to begin with. The closing of an old door is not the withdrawal of supply. It may be the creation of a vacancy in the hand that was gripping it, a vacancy into which a new key can now be placed. The old door may close specifically so that the eye will turn toward the open door that was always there, but could only be seen from this new angle of release. The desire can survive route change. Hear this clearly. Because it is the central revelation of this entire teaching. The desire is not housed inside the root. The desire lives in you, in the vision you carry, in the mental image you hold, in the command you have sent into the formless substance. The root is external. It is circumstantial. It belongs to the outer world of changing forms. The desire belongs to the inner world of held intention, and the inner world is not subject to the same fragility as the outer world. When the root changes, the desire does not die. The desire is simply waiting for a new vehicle through which to arrive, and that vehicle is already being prepared in the invisible dimension of supply that your current eyes cannot see. There is a belief operating in you right now that must be named and directly confronted. It says, releasing the path means giving up. It says that the moment you stop gripping this particular route, the dream evaporates. That the only thing holding the desire in existence is your continuous insistence on this specific channel. That if you open your hand, the thing you want will fall and shatter. This belief feels like wisdom. It feels like faithfulness to the vision. It feels like the responsible position of someone who takes their desires seriously. But it is not wisdom. It is the language of fear, and fear has never been an accurate interpreter of spiritual law. You are not surrendering the promise. You are surrendering your panic about the packaging. Read that again and let it enter somewhere deeper than the surface of understanding. The promise is the desired condition. The packaging is the root. You have been gripping the packaging so tightly that the contents cannot be delivered. You have insisted that the gift arrive in a specific box, through a specific carrier, at a specific address, on a specific date. And all of that insistence has been directed at the mechanism rather than received by the promise. The promise remains. The source is not withdrawing it. You are refusing delivery because you are standing at the wrong door, waiting for the wrong truck. The path is not the promise. This is the sentence that must replace the old belief, not as a casual affirmation, not as a comforting thought for difficult moments, but as a precise spiritual reorientation that changes the entire relationship between the viewer and their desire. The path is not the promise. The path is a temporary arrangement of outer circumstances that may serve the desire or may need to change so that the desire can be served more completely. The promise is invisible, sustained, and not contingent on any one visible configuration. The path is visible, temporary, and infinitely flexible in the hands of the intelligence that chose it. Releasing the path may be the only way to stop blocking the desire. Consider the possibility seriously, not as a platitude, as a genuine spiritual diagnosis of your present situation. What if the specific path you are gripping is the very obstacle that is preventing the arrival of what you have been asking for? Not because the path was wrong from the beginning. It may have been exactly right at a previous stage, but what if it has now served its purpose? What if the delivery mechanism has shifted and the desired condition is now trying to reach you through a different door, and your grip on the old door is creating the very blockage you have been praying to remove? This disruption requires honesty. It requires sitting with the question, what am I really loyal to right now? The vision or the root? The desired condition or the specific arrangement through which I decided it must come? Because the answer to that question will reveal whether what you have been calling faith is actually faith in the source or faith in one visible channel. Faith in the source remains steady when channels change. Faith in one channel collapses when the channel trembles. And the collapse has nothing to do with the strength of the desire. It has everything to do with the misplacement of the trust. Real faith is not certainty about the root. Real faith is certainty about the source. It is the inner knowing, held quietly and firmly, that the invisible supply behind all visible things has the capacity, the intelligence, and the intention to deliver the desired condition through whatever channel is best suited for the current moment. Real faith does not require the root to be guaranteed before trust is extended. Real faith extends trust first and allows the root to reveal itself as a consequence. This is what Wattles was pointing toward. Not blind passivity, not reckless disregard for practical reality, but a trust deep enough to release the grip on the how while keeping the grip on the what. Breaking this belief is not comfortable. The mind will argue. It will present evidence. It will list reasons why this particular path is the only viable one. It will recall past failures of other paths. It will describe the risks of releasing what is known for what is unknown. And all of this argument is honest. The mind is doing its job. The mind calculates based on what is visible. But the source operates beyond what is visible. And the teaching of the masters asks you, precisely at the moment when the mind is making its most compelling argument for clinging, to trust something older and deeper than the mind's calculation. You are not giving up on the dream when you release the path. You are removing the cage. You are taking the bird out of the box it has been forced into and setting it into the air. The bird does not stop being what it is when the box is removed. The desire does not lose its identity when the specific root is released. The desire becomes more itself, more free, more available to the intelligence of the source which knows routes your mind has not yet considered, routes that may be shorter, stronger, more aligned, and more perfectly suited to the person you have been becoming through all of this difficulty. There is something about this teaching that the viewer needs to sit with as the teaching continues to unfold. There is a moment, a very specific moment, when a person begins to worship the path more than they trust the source. It is not a dramatic moment. It does not announce itself. It does not come with a warning. It happens quietly, incrementally, almost invisibly, as the grip tightens around one root and the heart's attention shifts from the source behind the door to the door itself. That moment marks the beginning of path worship. And until that moment is recognized and reversed, no amount of spiritual effort applied to the surface of the situation will change what is happening at the root. You will recognize that moment in yourself before this teaching is finished. Not in some vague, general way, in a specific, uncomfortable, precise way. You will see the exact exchange that happened, the exact moment when your trust moved from the infinite source to the finite channel. You will see what fear was operating beneath that exchange, and you will see why the exchange felt at the time like wisdom, like prudence, like spiritual realism. Because it did feel that way. That is why path worship is so difficult to detect and so costly once it has taken root. But before that recognition comes, there is a deeper question that must be explored. The question is not simply, am I attached to one path? The question is, when did the attachment begin? What condition preceded it? What was the internal state that set up the environment for path worship to take hold? Because path attachment is not random. It does not arise from strength or spiritual clarity. It arises from a specific interior condition, and that condition can be named, diagnosed, and changed. The masters understood this, Wattles understood this, and the viewer who understands it will have something more powerful than a technique. They will have the spiritual root of the problem in their hands. Later in this teaching, the precise mechanism will be revealed, the moment when the path becomes the idol, the exact fear that drives the substitution, the specific inner language that signals path worship is operating. And along with that revelation will come the correction, not a vague encouragement, but a precise, practical spiritual move that breaks the worship and restores the original relationship between the vision and the source. Stay with this teaching. The revelation is coming, and when it arrives, it will not merely inform your understanding. It will change something in you that has been creating friction between your desire and its delivery for longer than you may realize. There is one more layer to introduce before the mechanism is fully explained, and it concerns the difference between two things that look almost identical from the outside, but produce completely opposite results on the inside. One is holding the desire with conviction. The other is clutching the root with desperation. They can look the same to an outside observer. Both involve intensity. Both involve focus, both involve a refusal to simply abandon what matters. But the interior of these two states is completely different, and the formless substance responds to the interior, not the exterior appearance. Wattles was precise about this distinction. The inner state is the cause, the outer world is the effect. And that means the inner state must be examined, not merely the outer behavior. For now, hold this as an open question and carry it forward as the teaching continues. Ask yourself, in my current situation, am I holding the desire, or am I clutching the root? Am I certain about the source, or am I dependent on the channel? Am I acting from faith, or am I forcing from fear? You do not need to answer these questions immediately. You do not need to resolve them before the next section begins. Simply let them live inside you as the teaching moves forward, because the answers will become clear not through analysis, but through the light that the next layers of this teaching will cast on the specific landscape of your present situation. The deeper understanding is being built step by step. The full mechanism of how invisible supply actually works, and precisely why releasing the rote accelerates rather than cancels delivery, is coming next. And once you see the mechanism clearly, the open loop that was introduced in this section will close with a force that changes not just your understanding, but your inner posture toward the desire you have been carrying. What you have seen so far is the cost, the law, and the disruption. What comes next is the architecture of the invisible, the way the source actually moves through channels, why the grip interrupts delivery, and what happens in the mind and in the world when the hand finally opens. This is where the teaching moves from diagnosis to mechanism, and it is where the viewer who has been suffering through path attachment will begin to feel the first movement of real relief. The formless substance, as Wattles described it, does not operate on fixed roots. It is not committed to the continuation of any one visible arrangement simply because that arrangement was once useful. It moves through the channels that are currently most aligned with the inner state of the receiver and the desired condition being held in vision. This is not caprice. This is a responsive intelligence operating on principles that the conscious mind can learn to cooperate with once it stops insisting that it alone knows the best path. The invisible supply is not rigid. The invisible supply is infinitely creative, infinitely resourceful, and completely undisturbed by the closing of any one channel. Source may begin the delivery through one path. A particular job appears. A client relationship forms. A business model produces results. A creative outlet reaches an audience. And the viewer, experiencing the early movement of supply through this channel, understandably develops a relationship with that channel. This is natural. The channel has served them. It has produced evidence. The evidence creates trust. The trust creates attachment. The attachment gradually, almost inevitably, becomes confused with the source itself. The channel was the vehicle of delivery, and it served its purpose beautifully. But if source now intends to redirect, to open a different, larger, more suitable channel, the attachment that grew from gratitude has become the obstacle. Source may redirect to another path. This is not a theological statement about divine caprice. It is a practical statement about the nature of an infinite intelligence managing the delivery of a specific condition to a specific receiver. Routes change because circumstances change, because the receiver has grown and now requires a larger channel, because the old channel has reached its capacity, because a new channel has become available that better serves the full intention of the desired condition, because the timing of something else in the universe requires a different angle of approach. The reasons are beyond the mind's ability to fully calculate, but the redirection is not punishment. It is navigation. It is the intelligence of the source finding the best available path to the destination. A delay may reveal a better route. The viewer who experiences a delay in the arrival of the desired condition through one channel may be living inside exactly this process. The delay is not a denial. The delay may be the time required for a better channel to fully form. It may be the period during which the receiver is being prepared to receive at the level the desire actually requires. It may be the moment of redirection, when the old route completes its service and the new route is aligned and ready. The question is not whether the delay is a sign of failure. The question is whether the viewer, during the delay, will remain open enough to perceive the new opening when it appears. A closed door may protect the desire. This requires deep spiritual trust to receive, but it is one of the most important laws the masters consistently pointed toward. The door that closed may have been a door that, had it remained open, would have delivered a diminished or distorted version of the desired condition. The channel that ended may have been a channel through which the full manifestation of the vision could never have flowed. The path that was blocked may have led, had it continued, to a destination that looked like the desire, but was not the desire in its fullness. The source, seeing more than the mind can see, may close one door specifically to preserve the integrity of the vision. A smaller door may train the receiver. The viewer who has been waiting for one large channel to open may be standing in front of a smaller door right now, dismissing it because it does not match the scale of the expectation. But the smaller door may be the school. It may be the place where the habits, skills, identity, and inner alignment required by the larger channel are developed. The masters consistently taught that readiness must precede delivery at every level. And readiness is often built through channels that look too small for the vision, but are exactly sized for the present level of the receiver's development. The viewer cannot receive new routes while gripping old ones. This is the mechanical statement of the problem. It is not metaphorical. The mind that is saturated with one route, monitoring it, forcing it, mourning it, calculating it, demanding it, is not available to perceive other routes. Perception is a resource. Attention is a resource. When both are deployed entirely into one channel, they are not available for others. The new channel may genuinely be invisible to the person who is staring at the old one, not because the new channel does not exist, but because the mind's attention has been fully claimed by the attachment to the one that is closing. Release opens perception. This is the first practical gift of releasing the path, not a mystical event, not a supernatural intervention, simply the restoration of perceptual availability. When the grip loosens on one route, the mind's attention becomes free to scan the environment for other channels. The spiritual peripheral vision, which had been narrowed to a single point, opens again. Things that were invisible behind the wall of attachment become visible. Signals that were being filtered out because they did not look like the expected delivery begin to register. Release does not create new channels. It reveals the ones that were already moving, already forming, already waiting for the receiver to notice them. Perception notices channels, and channels require action. This is where the teaching must be clear about the nature of the cooperation required between the viewer and the source. The source moves supply through channels. The channels are visible. They appear as people, offers, ideas, opportunities, relationships, doors, and signals. But they do not force themselves on the receiver. They become available. They appear in the field of a receiver whose perception is open, and once they appear, they require a response. They require action, not forcing, not manipulation, but the faithful, committed step of someone who trusts that the channel that has just appeared is worth engaging with, even if it was not part of the original plan. Action confirms trust. Every step taken on a new channel that appeared after the release of an old one is not merely a practical move. It is a spiritual statement. It says to the source and to the formless substance behind all visible things, I am available. I have released the grip. I am willing to receive through paths I did not plan. I am willing to cooperate with the intelligence that sees more than I see. Each such step increases the alignment between the inner state of the receiver and the movement of supply through the available channels. Each step taken in trust creates more alignment than the same step taken in desperation ever could. Delivery happens through released openness, not through passive waiting, not through wishful thinking, but through a specific interior condition that combines vision held with certainty and root held with openness. The desired condition is clear. The hand is open. The attention is available. The steps are taken on the nearest open door. The trust is extended beyond the currently visible. This is the interior architecture from which the delivery of the desired condition can flow freely. This is what Wattles called the certain way. Not a technique, but a way of being. A way of moving through the world that is aligned with the principles through which the formless substance expresses itself. Delivery happens when the receiver stops managing the route and starts trusting the source. It happens when the vision is held firmly and the path is held lightly. It happens when the inner command is stronger than the outer plan, when the certainty about the condition overrides the anxiety about the method. Wattles was pointing toward an interior transformation that changes the relationship between the human being and the supply that is always available. That transformation begins with understanding the mechanism, and it continues with the practice that the mechanism demands. There are two distinct inner structures that every person carries in relation to their desired condition. The first is the command. The command is the held vision, the clear mental image the inner certainty about the desired condition. It lives in the deep interior of the person. It is the statement made to the formless substance, I receive this. I am the person who inhabits this condition. This is the reality I am aligned with. The command is not attached to mechanism. It does not require any specific route to remain valid. The command is the definite, unhesitating inner declaration of the desired reality. It is what Wattles was speaking about when he described the clear mental image, held with unwavering intention. The second structure is the plan. The plan is the outer strategy, the specific path selected to move toward the vision, the job chosen, the business built, the relationship cultivated, the platform developed, the timeline established. The plan is important. It provides direction for action. It converts the vision into a sequence of practical steps. But the plan is not the command. The plan is the current best guess of the conscious mind about how the command might be executed. And because the plan belongs to the conscious mind, it is subject to all the limitations of the conscious mind's ability to see, calculate, and predict. The command must not die when the plan changes. This is the essential distinction. When the plan fails, when the route closes, when the strategy stops working, when the timeline passes, the correct spiritual response is not to conclude that the command has failed. The command is independent of the plan. The command lives at a level that is not reached by the failure of any outer arrangement. The command is held in the invisible interior, and it remains valid, sustained, and active, regardless of what happens to the current visible path. The plan may need to be revised. The command must be preserved without flinching. Command says, I receive the desired condition. This is the inner declaration. It is not negotiable. It is not conditional. It is not subject to revision based on current visible circumstances. The command has been given. The formless substance has received it. The delivery process has begun. The viewer's responsibility is to maintain the command, to keep the vision clear and held, to sustain the expectation of arrival without becoming enslaved to one specific form of delivery. The command stands. The command is the fixed point. Everything else, every plan, every path, every strategy, every channel, must be held more loosely than the command. Plan says, through this path, and the plan is honest. It says, given what I currently know, given what I can currently see, given the channels that are currently available to me, this is the most likely route toward the condition I have commanded. That is a reasonable, practical, responsible position. The plan is not an error. The plan is the mind doing its best work. But the plan must remain a servant of the command, not the master of it. When the plan demands that the command conform to its limitations, when the plan says, if this route fails, the command fails, the plan has overstepped its role. The plan serves. The command leads. When the plan fails, the command continues. This is the spiritual resilience that the masters were trying to build in their readers, not the resilience of someone who is numb to difficulty. Not the resilience of someone who has simply learned to suffer more quietly, but the resilience of someone whose command, whose held vision, whose inner declaration about the desired condition is seated deeper than any plan can reach. When the plan fails, that person does not conclude that the desire has been refused. They conclude that the route has changed and that a new plan must now be formed around the same command. When the route changes, the desire remains. This requires practice to actually feel. The mind will argue. It will say, but this was the route. This was the one I built everything around. This was where I invested my effort and identity and time, and the mind will attempt to collapse the desire into the route, so that the loss of the route is experienced as the loss of the desire. But the desire was never inside the route. The route was merely the most recently chosen vehicle. The desire lives in you, in the command, in the held vision. And held visions do not die, because routes change. They find new routes. Source can upgrade the path. This is one of the most remarkable aspects of trusting the invisible intelligence behind all channels. The path that Source offers after the old path releases may not simply be an alternative. It may be an upgrade, it may be faster. It may be more aligned, it may be better suited to who the viewer has become through all of the effort and growth and preparation that happened along the old path. The old path may have been necessary not as the final delivery route, but as the preparation route. The viewer developed something important while on it, and now that development makes them ready for a better channel than they could have accessed before. Released path frees the command. When the grip on the route loosens, the energy that was being used to maintain that grip is freed. The attention that was saturated with one channel is freed. The creativity that was being suppressed by the anxiety of one failing route is freed. And all of that freed energy, attention, and creativity becomes available to the command, to the held vision, to the process of noticing, responding to, and acting on the new channels that the source is now able to direct toward an open receiver. The release does not weaken the command, it empowers it. It removes the friction that the grip was creating and allows the command to operate with its full force in the invisible dimension. The person who holds the command with certainty and the path with openness is the person the masters were describing when they wrote about the certain way, the right way, the way that leads surely to the desired condition for anyone who follows it with consistency and faith, not rigidly, not mechanically, but with the deep informed trust of someone who understands both why the vision must be held and why the route must remain a servant rather than an idol. If this teaching is helping you separate the promise from the path, if something in you is recognizing the difference between the command and the plan, and if you can feel the beginning of a new kind of spiritual clarity about the relationship between the vision you carry and the route you have been gripping, then this channel was designed for exactly this moment in your life. The Master's legacy exists to preserve the teachings of the great Masters, not as historical curiosity, but as living, active spiritual law that is directly relevant to the exact situation you are facing right now. Every teaching on this channel is drawn from the deep well of Wattles, Allen, Shin, and others who saw the invisible laws behind all visible conditions. Subscribe to the Master's legacy. Let this channel become a continued source of the kind of teaching that does not merely motivate, but actually transforms the inner structure from which your outer life is created. Every week, this channel brings the ancient wisdom forward into the modern situation, where spiritual seekers are dealing with real financial pressure, real fear, real path attachment, and a real need for the kind of clarity that only the Masters can provide. If you are serious about understanding the laws of mind, the nature of invisible supply, and the practical protocol for receiving the desired condition through trust rather than force, subscribe now and stay close to what is being taught here. The mind holds one road because it cannot see the road behind the hill. This is not a failure of intelligence. It is a structural limitation of a tool that was designed to operate on visible data. The conscious mind is an extraordinary instrument for analyzing what is present, for comparing options that are currently observable, for sequencing steps along a path that has already been identified. But it is not designed to perceive what is beyond its current field of vision. It cannot see the channel that will open next month. It cannot calculate the relationship that will form unexpectedly. It cannot model the opportunity that has not yet entered the visible environment. And because it cannot see these things, it defaults to gripping what it already knows. This limitation is why path attachment feels so rational. From inside the mind's calculation, the route being gripped is the only route that exists. The mind is not being foolish when it says, "This is the only way." The mind is reporting accurately on what it can currently perceive. The error is not in the mind's calculation. The error is in the assumption that the mind's perception is complete. The mind sees the road it is standing on. It does not see the road behind the hill. And the source, which sees both roads simultaneously, may be in the process of redirecting the viewer toward the one that cannot yet be seen. Source does not require your attachment to keep the desire alive. The desire does not persist because you are gripping the root. The desire persists because it is held in the formless substance as a real and living intention that is moving toward expression through the most available channel. The grip does not sustain the desire. The grip impedes the delivery of the desire. The desire would arrive more readily, more quickly, and through a more suitable channel if the grip were released and the hand were open to receive whatever shape the delivery takes. This is the counterintuitive truth that the mind resists but the spirit recognizes. The mind's inability to calculate the how is not a problem to be solved by more calculation. It is an invitation to a different kind of trust, a trust that delegates the how to the intelligence that can calculate it. The mind retains the what, the vision, the desired condition, the definite mental image. The mind acts on the nearest available door. The mind maintains the inner state of faithful expectancy. But the how, the specific route, the sequence of channels, the timing of openings, the mind releases these to the source, not because the mind has failed, but because the source is better equipped to manage what the mind cannot see. When the viewer stops trying to force the mind to calculate how it cannot calculate, something opens. The desperate, compulsive planning stops. The obsessive monitoring of one route relaxes. The quiet that follows is not emptiness. It is the interior space in which the source can now communicate, through intuition, through unexpected signals, through the sudden recognition of an open door that was always there, but invisible behind the noise of the mind's frantic calculation. The release of the how is not passive. It is the active creation of the interior condition in which the intelligence of the source can actually be heard. The masters consistently pointed to this truth from different angles and in different language. Alan spoke of the outer world as the mirror of the inner condition. Shin spoke of the spoken word as a divine order given to the supply. Wattles spoke of the clear mental image held with faith and acted upon through the nearest open door. All three were pointing toward the same invisible mechanism. The inner state governs the outer flow, and the inner state that allows the fullest flow is the one that holds the vision with certainty while releasing the route with trust. This mechanism does not require the mind to solve the how. It requires the mind to stop blocking the how that the source is already solving. Consider a simple image, a hand holding a key, not any key, but a specific one. The one that was used to open a specific door at a specific moment in the past. The key worked. The door opened. Good things came through that door. The memory of the opening is vivid and important. And now the hand is closed around that key, as though the key itself is the source of access. As though the key must never be released, because releasing it means losing all access to all doors everywhere forever. The hand is clenched. The knuckles are white. And somewhere nearby, a different key is being held out by someone or something, waiting for the hand to open so that the new key can be received. The hand cannot receive the new key while it is gripping the old one. This is not a moral statement. It is a physical statement. A hand that is closed cannot receive. A hand that is full cannot be filled. The new key is available. The new door it opens may lead somewhere even more aligned with the desired condition than the old door ever could. But the new key cannot enter a hand that is not open, and the hand will not open as long as the fear that says releasing the old key means losing all keys is operating beneath the grip. Here is the important part of this image. The desired condition is not inside the old key. The desired condition is through the door, and there are multiple doors in the hallway of possibility. The old door was one of them. A new door has appeared. But the mind, staring at the old key, has forgotten that the purpose of the key was always the door, and the purpose of the door was always the condition beyond it. The key was a vehicle for accessing the condition. It was never the condition itself. The route was always a means, not an end. And means can be replaced when a better means becomes available. The old key once mattered. This must be honored rather than dismissed. The path being released may have been genuinely important. It may have carried the viewer through a significant period of development. It may have delivered real provision, real growth, real clarity about the desired condition. Releasing it does not mean declaring it was worthless. The gratitude for what the path provided is real and appropriate. But gratitude for a past vehicle does not require continuing to grip it when a new vehicle has appeared. The old key earned its place in the story, and now the story is moving forward, and the old key cannot open the next door. The lock may have changed. This is the piece that makes the continued gripping most futile. The viewer may be holding a key that genuinely worked in the past and is genuinely worthy of gratitude. But the lock has changed. The employer has shifted. The market has moved. The platform has evolved. The client's needs have changed. The timing has passed. The specific configuration of circumstances that made the old key perfectly suited for the old lock no longer exists. And no amount of holding the old key, polishing it, insisting on it, or mourning the changed lock will restore the fit. The lock has changed. A new key is needed. And the new key is available but only to an open hand. A new key is being offered. This may be happening right now in the viewer's life. Not through a dramatic announcement, not through a flashing sign, but through a quiet opening. A different opportunity, an unexpected connection, a new idea that arrived during a moment of stillness, a door that appeared in a direction the viewer was not originally facing. The offering of the new key is the source responding to the held vision with the best available current channel. The offering may be subtle. It may not look like the desired condition from the outside, but the source's deliveries often arrive without the fanfare the mind expects. The hand cannot receive it while it is clenched. The new key is present. The new channel is available. The new door is open. But the receiver, who is still gripping the old key with white-knuckled attachment, cannot feel the new one being offered. The signals of the new channel are entering a perceptual field that is already full. The availability of the new route is real, but it requires an available receiver. And availability in the physical world and in the invisible one requires openness. The source does not force delivery through a clenched fist. The source offers. The receiver must open. Release opens the hand. And the opening of the hand is not the loss of everything the old key represented. It is the freeing of the hand to participate in the next stage of delivery. The release is not abandonment. It is trust expressed as openness. It is the physical and spiritual act of saying, I held this faithfully. I worked with this honestly. I trusted this as long as it was the best available channel. And now I open my hand, not because I am giving up the desired condition, but because I am trusting the source to place the next vehicle of delivery into an open and ready hand. The desire remains. Through the entire arc of this analogy, the desire has not changed. The vision has not been revised. The command has not been withdrawn. The desired condition is the same at the end as it was at the beginning. The only thing that has changed is the willingness to receive it through a different key, a different door, a different route. And that willingness, that openness, that released hand, is precisely the interior condition that allows the formless substance to move through the best available channel and deliver what has been commanded with clarity and held with faith. The route changes, the vision remains, the route changes, the source remains, the route changes, the hand opens, the route changes. And the desire, which was never housed inside the route, arrives. Clinging to one employer when the employment relationship has clearly run its course is one of the most common forms of delivery interference. The viewer who once found genuine supply through a specific workplace has given that workplace the status of source. And when that workplace signals it can no longer sustain the same level of provision, the viewer does not say, source is redirecting my supply through a different channel. They say, my supply is ending. And from that position of perceived scarcity, they grip the employer tighter, performing loyalty and desperation simultaneously, while the source is attempting to redirect the viewer's supply through a different, perhaps superior, channel of employment that the viewer cannot currently perceive because all attention is on the closing one. Waiting for one specific client to confirm is another form of interference. The professional who has decided that this particular client represents the breakthrough. The one client whose yes will change everything is not simply being hopeful. They have installed this client as the delivery mechanism of the desired condition. And every delay, every ambiguous signal, every silence from that client is experienced as the source withholding the promised condition. Meanwhile, other clients, other relationships, other forms of the same desired outcome are moving in the periphery, available to a perceiver whose attention is not being held hostage by one unconfirmed hope. Obsessing over one platform, while that platform's effectiveness is clearly diminishing, is a form of delivery interference that is particularly common in the current era. The creator, the entrepreneur, the communicator who built their identity around one channel of distribution cannot see that their supply was never inside the platform. Their supply was in the value they create and the desire they hold to reach people with that value. The platform was a vehicle for delivering the value to receivers. When the vehicle shows where, the question is not, how do I fix this vehicle? The first question is this still the right vehicle, or is there a better one available for the journey I am actually on? Refusing a different audience when the current one is not responding is another interference pattern. The viewer who has decided that a specific type of person, a specific demographic, a specific community is the channel through which the desired outcome must flow, and who refuses to consider that a different audience might receive the same offering more enthusiastically, is allowing path attachment to interfere with delivery. The offering may be perfect, the desire may be clear, but the insistence on one specific receiver as the channel is preventing the discovery of the receiver who is actually ready. Staying with one outdated offer rather than allowing it to evolve is a form of root worship that the viewer may not recognize as spiritual in nature. But it is. The offer was designed at a specific moment for a specific version of the viewer's understanding. The market, the audience, and the viewer have all changed since then. The source may be attempting to deliver through a new version of the offering, but the viewer, attached to the original form, keeps attempting to force the old offer into a market that has moved. The desired condition, the prosperity, the impact, the creative fulfillment can still arrive, but it may need to arrive through an evolved version of the offer rather than the preserved original. Demanding one timeline is interference of a particularly subtle kind. The viewer who has told themselves and told the source that the desired condition must arrive by a specific date has created a conditional relationship with the delivery. They are saying, if you do not deliver by this date, I will conclude that the promise has failed. But the source does not operate on deadlines set by fear. The source operates on the timing that is most aligned with the fullness of the delivery. A deadline imposed by anxiety is not a spiritual command. It is a test applied to the source, and the source passes no such tests because the source answers to the laws of infinite intelligence, not to the calendar of human urgency. Holding one failed strategy past the point where it has shown its limits is a form of delivery interference that is easily rationalized. The viewer calls it persistence. They call it faithfulness to the original vision. They call it refusal to give up. And in some circumstances, persistence is exactly right. But there is a difference between persisting in the direction of the vision and persisting in the exact method that has repeatedly demonstrated it is not producing the result. Persistence toward the vision is a virtue. Persistence with a failed route past all rational evidence is not persistence. It is attachment, and attachment blocks perception of the open route that persistence in the right direction would have revealed. Believing one person must be the channel is perhaps the most emotionally loaded form of delivery interference. When one specific person, whether a partner, a mentor, an employer, an investor, or a family member, is installed as the human vehicle through which provision must flow. The viewer has placed the power of supply in one human pair of hands. And when that person does not deliver, cannot deliver, or is not designed by circumstance to be the channel, the viewer experiences it as a personal betrayal rather than a simple channel redirect. No person was ever meant to be the source. Every person can be a channel, but no channel is irreplaceable. The source has more channels available than any one person can obstruct. There is a specific kind of inner freedom that becomes available when the viewer stops guarding one route. It is not the freedom of not caring. It is the freedom of not needing to know. When a package has been ordered, when the command has been sent, when the desired condition has been clearly held and faithfully maintained, there comes a moment when continuing to track every movement of the delivery serves no purpose except to sustain anxiety. The package is in motion, the source is navigating. The delivery is progressing through channels that the viewer cannot monitor from their present position. And the tracking, rather than accelerating the delivery, simply exhausts the tracker. The path was never your savior. This is one of the most liberating sentences in the entire teaching. The path was a vehicle. It was a temporary arrangement of visible circumstances through which supply was moving toward you. It was useful. It was real. It served a purpose. But it was never the origin of your provision. It was never the guarantor of your prosperity. It was never the thing standing between you and poverty, The source was always the origin. The path was always just the current best available mechanism. And mechanisms can change without the source changing. Mechanisms can end without the promise ending. The path was never your savior. The source can deliver through another door. This is the freedom that comes from understanding the mechanism of invisible supply. The delivery is not locked to one address. The supply is not confined to one channel. The desire you carry can be fulfilled through a route that has not yet appeared in your awareness. You do not know what that route looks like. You do not know when it will become visible. You do not know through which unexpected door it will arrive. But the source knows. And the source is capable of navigating the fullness of what you have commanded through the most suitable available channel, which may be completely different from the one you have been guarding. Let the desire breathe outside the cage of one route. The desire that has been confined to one specific method of delivery has been living in a cage, not intentionally, not cruelly. But the natural consequence of path attachment is that the desire which is meant to move through the world with the flexibility and creativity of the formless substance has been constrained to one shape, one size, one direction. Release does not set the desire free to disappear. Release sets the desire free to arrive. The breathing room of an open path is not emptiness. It is the spaciousness in which the source can move with the full intelligence and creativity of an infinite supply responding to a clear command. The freedom of not tracking the package looks like peace. It looks like the quiet attention of a person who has placed an order, done what was theirs to do, and now goes about their daily action and faithful expectancy without the compulsive need to check the tracking number every hour. The order was placed. The source received it. The delivery is in process. The open door in front of you is the one to walk through now. Not because the tracking is unnecessary, but because the tracking is not yours to do. The delivery is being managed by an intelligence that does not lose packages, does not miscalculate routes, and does not abandon orders placed with clarity and faith. There is a practical rest that comes from this understanding. Not the rest of passivity, not the rest of someone who has given up on the desire, but the rest of someone who has genuinely and deeply transferred the management of the delivery to the intelligence best equipped to manage it. This rest is productive. This rest opens perception. This rest creates the interior condition of calm expectancy from which right action flows naturally, without desperation, without obsession, without the exhausting vigilance of someone who believes the delivery will only happen if they personally force the mechanism. The desire was not designed to arrive through the route you chose. The desire was designed to arrive. The route was a guess. A well-intentioned, reasonably considered, faithfully pursued guess. But a guess nonetheless. And the source, which is not bound by the guess, which sees the entire landscape of available routes simultaneously, may have already chosen a better one. Your freedom is in releasing the attachment to your guess, while keeping your certainty about the destination. When the path is released, you do not lose the desire, you free the desire. You free it from the prison of one visible road. And the desire, freed, moves toward you with everything the source has available to deliver it. The viewer who finds this freedom does not become reckless. They do not abandon practical responsibility. They do not stop acting. They act more effectively because their actions are now chosen from availability rather than desperation, from openness rather than fear, from the guided movement of someone walking through open doors rather than the futile assault of someone forcing a closed one. The first movement of the practical protocol is to define the what with complete clarity and to define it separately from the route. This requires a deliberate, unhurried exercise of honest attention. You must look at what you actually desire, not what you have been pursuing, not the strategy you have been executing, not the channel you have been developing, the condition, the life state, the inner and outer reality that you are genuinely seeking when you strip away every layer of method and strategy and mechanism. What is the actual thing you want, not how you plan to get it? What is it? Your vision may be financial freedom. It may be creative expression that reaches a large audience. It may be a thriving business that supports your family. It may be a form of income that aligns with your gifts and your values. It may be the experience of abundance that removes the daily anxiety of financial scarcity. Whatever it is, write it down in this form. My vision is blank. Not my current path is. Not my strategy is. My vision is. The vision is the desired condition. The vision is what you are actually seeking. And the vision, when stated clearly and separately from any method, will reveal immediately how much larger it is than any one route through which you have been attempting to reach it. Now write a second sentence. Write, my current preferred path is blank. And name it honestly. Name the job, the business model, the client, the platform, the relationship, the strategy, the timeline that you have been treating as the vehicle for the vision. Name it without shame. The path you chose was reasonable. It made sense at the time. It may still have value. You are not being asked to condemn it. You are simply being asked to name it as a path, separate from the vision, so that you can see clearly the difference between the two things that fear has been collapsing into one. Then write a third sentence. Write, my vision can still arrive if this path changes. Let that sentence sit in the space of honest spiritual attention for a full minute. Does it feel true? Does something in you resist it? The resistance is information. If the sentence feels threatening, if the mind immediately argues, if the body contracts with anxiety at the idea, that is the grip showing itself. That is the path attachment that has been operating beneath the surface of your conscious planning. And seeing it clearly, naming it precisely, is the first step in releasing it with the faith that comes from understanding, rather than the blind hope that comes from not knowing what you are releasing or why. What do you truly desire? Ask this question again after having written the 3 sentences and notice whether the answer has shifted at all. Sometimes the exercise of separating vision from route reveals that the vision was not quite what the viewer thought. Sometimes it reveals that the viewer had become so merged with the path that they forgot what they were pursuing the path for. Sometimes the vision, when separated from the method, looks larger and simpler and more clearly spiritual than the strategy-focused version of it. And sometimes that revelation is itself a significant part of the transformation. What path have you confused with the desire? This is the diagnostic question, that the exercise of defining the what is designed to surface, not with blame, not with harsh self-judgment, but with clear, compassionate, specific identification. Because you cannot release what you have not named. You cannot open a grip that you have not acknowledged is a grip. The path that has been confused with the desire may be obvious to you as soon as you write the 3 sentences. Or it may require sitting with the question for some time before the honest answer rises. Either way, the answer is there. And it is the specific thing that the rest of this protocol is designed to address. What condition matters more than the method? Let this question reorder your priorities as you consider the answer. If the desired condition is financial peace, does financial peace require this specific employer? Or does financial peace require trust in the source and movement through whatever available channels the source opens? If the desired condition is creative impact, does creative impact require this specific platform? Or does creative impact require the continued development of the offering and the willingness to bring it through whatever door is open? When the condition is placed above the method in the order of priorities, the method becomes what it was always meant to be, a servant of the vision rather than its master. What would release make possible? Sit with this question honestly. If you released the grip on this specific route, if you genuinely opened the hand that has been clenched around this path, what might become visible that is currently invisible? What channel might appear that is currently blocked from your perception by the wall of your attention being fully deployed toward the one route? What new energy would be freed from the exhausting work of maintaining the grip? What possibilities might you be capable of perceiving if your perception were not saturated by the monitoring of one closing door? The answer to this question is not a fantasy. It is a realistic assessment of what release actually opens in the practical landscape of your life. The exercise of defining the what is not a one-time practice. It is a regular recalibration. The vision and the current preferred path should be written separately at any moment of strong path attachment anxiety, any moment of desperation about a specific channel, any moment of grief over a closing route. Returning to the written separation of vision from path is a way of reminding the inner life of the distinction that fear has collapsed. It is a way of restoring the correct spiritual architecture in which the vision commands and the path serves. The goal of this subsection is not merely intellectual clarity about the difference between desire and root. It is the interior experience of holding the two separately and feeling, perhaps for the first time, how much lighter and more trusting the relationship with the desired condition becomes when it is no longer fused to the anxiety of one specific path. The vision, held separately from the root, feels expansive. The root held separately from the vision feels appropriately temporary, and from that interior reorganization, the practical protocol for releasing the how can be undertaken with genuine spiritual grounding. Once the vision has been clearly separated from the root, the practice of releasing the how can begin. This is the active phase of the protocol, not passive, not wishful. Active. It requires specific movements, specific declarations, and specific behavioral changes that signal to the inner life and to the formless substance that the grip has been consciously and faithfully opened. The release of the how is not an accident. It is a practice. It must be practiced because the grip of path attachment is strong and the fear that maintains it is persistent. The practice must be stronger than the fear. The first step is to name the path, not in generalities, in specifics. Name the exact thing you have been gripping, the specific employer, the specific client, the specific business model, the specific platform, the specific relationship, the specific strategy, the specific timeline. Name it out loud if possible. Write it down. Give it the specificity that makes the release real. A general release of a general path is not a genuine release. A specific, named, clearly identified path being consciously and deliberately open to change is the beginning of a real spiritual movement. The second step is to thank it for what it taught. This is not a manipulation technique. It is a genuine spiritual act of acknowledgement. The path you have been gripping gave you something: knowledge, experience, development, evidence about what works and what does not, relationships, skills, clarity about the vision itself. These gifts are real. They belong to you regardless of whether the path continues. Acknowledging them dissolves the resentment and grief that often accompany release, and it replaces them with a foundation of gratitude from which the release can happen without bitterness. The third step is to stop calling it the only way, not to declare it was wrong, not to abandon everything associated with it overnight, but to remove from your inner vocabulary the sentence that says this is the only path to the desired condition. Every time that sentence arises, and it will arise, because the mind returns to what it knows, you will redirect it. You will replace the sentence with one that is more accurate. This is one path I have used. The source has more. You are not declaring the path dead. You are removing its status as the only possible delivery mechanism. The fourth step is to say, aloud and with genuine intention, I keep the vision, but I release the root. This is not merely a phrase. This is the specific verbal declaration that makes the release a spiritual act rather than a private mental shift. The spoken word carries weight in the tradition of the masters, particularly in the teaching of Florence Scovel Shinn, who understood that the words spoken from genuine faith become a command to the invisible supply. Say it today. Say it the first time you feel the grip tightening again. Say it every morning as a spiritual orientation for the day. Say it every time a new channel appears that does not look like the old one. I keep the vision, but I release the root. The fifth step is to watch for new channels. This step requires active spiritual perception rather than passive waiting. New channels do not always announce themselves dramatically. They appear as quiet openings, unexpected messages, unfamiliar opportunities, new relationships, different versions of a familiar offering, unusual timing. The viewer who has released the grip is now available to perceive these appearances, and the practice of watching for them, of remaining genuinely curious and genuinely open to unexpected delivery mechanisms, is itself a form of active faith. It says to the formless substance, I am available. I am not locked into the old route. I am watching with open expectancy for the new channel that the source is sending. The release of the how is not a one-time declaration. It is a practice of returning repeatedly to the interior state of vision held with certainty and root held with openness. The grip will tighten again. Fear will argue for the old root. The mind will present its evidence. And each time the practice requires the deliberate, faithful return to the declaration, I keep the vision, but I release the root. The practice builds an interior architecture over time, an architecture that becomes strong enough to hold the vision steadily through route changes, through delays, through unexpected redirections, through the moments when the source is navigating toward a better channel than the one the mind selected. The release of the how does not mean the end of planning. Planning continues, action continues, effort continues. But planning and action now come from a different interior place. They come from openness rather than attachment, from exploration rather than desperation, from the willing engagement with what is available rather than the futile forcing of what is closed. The plan is made, executed, observed, and revised with the flexibility of someone who knows that the plan serves the command rather than defines it. And when the plan requires revision, the command does not flinch. What changes first when the how is genuinely released is the quality of the inner life. The anxiety decreases, not because the external situation has immediately improved, but because the source of the anxiety, the attachment to one route as the only possible salvation, has been directly addressed. The obsessive calculation relaxes, the compulsive monitoring of one channel settles, and in the quiet that follows, the perception opens, and the new channels that were always present begin to become visible. This is not magic. This is the practical consequence of removing a specific interference from a specific mechanism of supply. The viewer who practices the release of the how regularly, who returns to the declaration faithfully, who watches for new channels genuinely and acts on them willingly, is practicing the certain way in the spirit in which Wattles intended it, not as a passive wishing technique, not as a method for avoiding action, but as the specific interior alignment that allows the formless substance to move through the best available channels and deliver the desired condition to a receiver who is open, ready, and faithfully expectant. The released path opens the expectation of surprise. And the expectation of surprise is a specific spiritual posture that must be cultivated deliberately, because the default mental posture is the expectation of continuity. The mind expects tomorrow to look like today. The mind expects supply to come through the channels it has always used. The mind expects the desired condition to arrive in the form it has always imagined. But the source is not constrained by continuity. The source can deliver through a completely different person than the one expected. The supply may come through a different person, not the employer the viewer has been depending on, not the client the viewer has been waiting for, not the partner the viewer has been relying on. A new person, an unexpected relationship, a connection formed through an unusual channel in an unusual way at an unusual time. The viewer who expects the source to deliver through only known people will reject this new person as not the channel, will fail to see them as the vehicle they actually are, and will continue waiting at the old address while the delivery stands unclaimed at a new one. The provision may come through a different platform. The creative professional who has been measuring the success of their work by one channel of distribution may find that the next significant movement comes through a different channel entirely. Not the one they built, not the one they invested in, a different one, one that perhaps they had not even considered or had considered and dismissed. The expectation of surprise keeps the viewer alert to the possibility that the source is not confined to the platforms the viewer has approved. The opportunity may come with different timing. The viewer who has decided that a specific window has closed and that the timing has passed may find that the source has a different timing in mind, not the timeline the viewer constructed from urgency, a different one. One that aligns with preparations that were not yet complete, with circumstances that needed to align, with the arrival of something the viewer could not have assembled on their own schedule. The expectation of surprise holds the timing open rather than declaring the deadline passed and the promise failed. The desired condition may arrive in a different form, not different in its essence, not a diminished version, but a different outer form than the mind imagined. The financial freedom that was imagined through one type of work may arrive through a completely different form of work that serves the same inner values even more precisely. The creative impact that was imagined through one medium may arrive through a completely different medium that reaches the same people even more directly. The form changes. The essence of the desired condition remains. The opportunity may carry a different price of admission than expected. Not a higher one necessarily, but a different one. The old path required one set of skills, one kind of effort, one type of identity. The new path may require something the viewer does not yet fully possess, but is capable of developing. The expectation of surprise includes the expectation that the new delivery channel may require a new version of the receiver, not a diminished version, a developed one. The surprise may include the gift of becoming more precisely who the desired condition requires its receiver to be. The supply may come in a different size and shape than imagined. The viewer who has been expecting a large, dramatic delivery may find that the first movement of the new channel is smaller and quieter than expected. A small door, a modest beginning, an unexpected seed that carries within it the full potential of the desired harvest. The expectation of surprise includes the willingness to receive at the scale the source is currently offering, without rejecting it, because the scale does not match the vision. The small beginning is not a contradiction of the large vision. It may be the first step on the new route that leads to the full manifestation of the command. The idea itself may come from a surprising direction. The solution the viewer has been trying to construct through effort and calculation may arrive suddenly and simply in a moment of quiet, an insight, a new connection between existing things, a completely different approach to the desired condition that makes several old strategies irrelevant. The expectation of surprise includes the expectation of insight, of inner guidance, of the quiet arrival of an idea that no amount of forcing would have produced, but that arrives naturally to a perception that is open and available and no longer saturated by the anxiety of one route. The release of the path does not lead to passivity. It leads to action on the nearest open door. This is the point where the teaching of the masters becomes most directly practical and where the transformation from spiritual understanding to physical movement must occur. The desired condition does not arrive to people who understand the law but do not act. It arrives to people who understand the law and then act, not desperately on the closed door, but faithfully on the nearest open one. Test the new channel. When a new channel appears after the release of the old one, the action required is engagement rather than analysis. Not the reckless, blind engagement of someone acting without thought, but the curious, faithful engagement of someone who has asked the source for direction and is now choosing to treat the unexpected opening as a potential response to that request. The test is not a permanent commitment. It is an act of available trust. It says, I am willing to try this. I am willing to move through this new door even though it was not in the original plan. Answer the unexpected message, the unexpected connection, the unusual inquiry, the strange invitation, the person from an unexpected direction. The viewer who has released the path has created the perceptual availability to notice these signals when they arrive, and noticing them is only the first step. The second step is response. The message must be answered, the inquiry must be engaged. The invitation must be considered on its own terms rather than dismissed because it does not match the expected shape of delivery. The message may be a channel. The inquiry may be the beginning of a new route. The invitation may be the key to the door that the source has just opened. Let the old route rest, not forever necessarily, but now. For this moment, give the closed door the gift of your absence. Stop assaulting it. Stop monitoring it. Stop sending it energy, attention, and anxious calculation. Let it be. Let the source manage it. If the door is to reopen, it will reopen without your vigil, and if it is not to reopen, your continued presence at it is keeping you from the door that is already standing open somewhere else in the landscape of available channels. Let the old route rest and give your vital energy to the present possibility. Try the different offer. If the market that received the old offering has shifted, bring a different version of the offering. Not a desperate abandonment of everything you have built, but a faithful evolution of your work, toward the form that the present moment is calling for. The viewer who releases attachment to one specific version of their offering discovers a creative freedom that path attachment had suppressed. New versions emerge. Different approaches arise. Surprising possibilities appear that were invisible while the identity was fused to one specific form. Accept redirection. When circumstances clearly indicate that a route is being redirected, the spiritually aligned response is to accept the redirection rather than resist it. Acceptance is not defeat. Acceptance is the act of a person who trusts that the intelligence navigating the route has access to information that the conscious mind does not. Accepting the redirection keeps the inner state aligned with the movement of supply rather than opposed to it, and alignment with the movement of supply is the condition from which new channels most readily become visible and available. Stop forcing the old path. This is the specific behavioral change that the practice section requires, not a vague interior release, but an actual stopping of specific forcing behaviors. Stop sending the unanswered fifth message. Stop adjusting the same strategy for the eighth time in hope that minor variation will produce major change. Stop investing primary energy into the platform that has consistently shown it is not the current vehicle. These specific stopping behaviors are the physical expression of the interior release. They are the ways in which the inner declaration becomes visible in the outer world. Move with curiosity. The posture of the viewer who is walking through the nearest door is not desperate. It is curious. It is the posture of someone exploring the new channel with genuine openness about where it leads. Curiosity is a spiritual posture. It says, I do not yet know what this will become, and I am willing to find out. It says, I am not forcing the outcome of this new channel. I am following it with the trust of someone who placed an order with the source and is now walking in the direction the source is pointing. Curiosity is how faith moves through the physical world. Stay loyal to source. Through all of it, through the release of the old path, through the exploration of the new channel, through the surprise, through the redirection, through the uncertainty of walking through an unfamiliar door, stay loyal to the one constant in this entire system. Not to the route, not to the plan, not to the original strategy, to the source behind all channels, to the formless substance from which all supply flows, to the invisible intelligence that selected the old channel and is now navigating toward a better one. Stay loyal to source, and the source will navigate faithfully toward the fulfillment of the command that has been clearly held with faith and acted upon with the willingness of an open hand. The hidden sabotage that blocks the release of the path is not always visible as fear. It presents itself as caution, as wisdom, as the responsible assessment of a person who has been hurt before and is simply being careful. It presents itself as loyalty, as perseverance, as the admirable quality of someone who does not abandon their commitments when things become difficult. And because path attachment can wear all of these disguises, it often goes undetected until the cost has become enormous. The false safety trap is the gravitational pull of the known, dressed in the clothing of virtue. The old path feels controllable, not because it is actually under control, not because the outcomes are actually guaranteed, but because its variables are familiar. The viewer knows its texture. They know what it looks like when it is working and what it looks like when it is struggling. They have developed the ability to read its signals, even if those signals are consistently negative. Familiarity creates a false sense of control. And the false sense of control creates an attachment that has nothing to do with whether the path is actually delivering what was commanded. The new path feels unknown, and unknown, in the language of the fear-driven mind, translates directly to dangerous. The new channel has not been explored. Its signals are not yet familiar. Its outcomes are not yet calculable. The mind, which operates on visible data, has no data for the new path. And without data, the mind defaults to danger. This is the mechanical reason why release feels threatening even when the released path has already clearly stopped delivering. The mind will choose a known lack over an unknown possibility every time, unless a deeper trust overrides the mind's default response to the unknown. The old path may be dead but predictable, and the new path may be alive but uncertain. This is the precise description of the false safety trap. The viewer is choosing predictable deadness over living uncertainty. They are choosing the certainty of a closed door over the uncertainty of an open one. They are choosing to remain in a familiar prison rather than step through an unfamiliar opening. And they are calling this choice safety. But it is not safety, it is the surrender of the desire in exchange for the comfort of the known. It is the trade of aliveness for predictability. And the trade is made at the expense of everything the viewer actually wants. Fear chooses predictable lack. Faith chooses living possibility. This is the exact fork in the path where the false safety trap operates. Fear does not announce itself. It does not say, I am fear and I am choosing predictable lack. It says, I am being wise, I am being realistic. I am not abandoning what I have built for something that may not work. But the spiritual diagnosis of this position, when it is preventing the viewer from walking through open doors and acting on new channels, is path attachment. And the spiritual correction is faith. Not reckless faith, not blind faith, but the informed, grounded faith of someone who understands that the source can navigate a new channel and who trusts that navigation enough to begin walking. Attachment protects fear. This is the hidden function of path attachment that is rarely acknowledged. The grip on the old route is not primarily about the old route, it is primarily about the fear of the unknown. The grip is the mechanism by which the fear of what might happen if the old route is released is managed. As long as the grip is maintained, the viewer does not have to face the unknown. As long as the old route is being clutched, the terrifying openness of a released hand can be avoided. The attachment to the path is therefore the fear of release, wearing the mask of loyalty to the vision. Release protects the desire. This is the inversion of the false safety trap. The viewer believes that the grip is protecting the desire, but the grip is protecting the fear. And the release is the thing that would actually protect the desire, by freeing it from the constraint of one specific channel and allowing it to be served by the full intelligence and creativity of the source behind all channels. The desire is safer in the hands of the source than it is in the cage of one route. The vision is more likely to arrive when the hand is open than when the hand is closed. The release is not the abandonment of the desire. It is the trust that the desire is in better hands when the route is held with openness rather than clutched with anxiety. The false safety trap can only be broken by understanding it precisely enough to see through the disguise. When caution looks like wisdom, the question to ask is this caution protecting the desire or protecting the fear? When loyalty looks like faithfulness, the question to ask is, am I loyal to the vision or loyal to the route? When perseverance looks like spiritual strength, the question to ask is, am I persisting toward the condition or persisting with a method that has already demonstrated its limits? These questions, asked honestly and answered without the softening that fear requires, are the diagnostic tools that reveal the false safety trap for what it actually is. This is the moment where the teaching reaches its most specific and confrontational truth. The viewer who has been releasing the path may discover that the delivery was attempted and rejected, not by the source, by the viewer, because the delivery looked wrong, because the new channel that arrived did not match the expected form, because the open door was through a hallway the viewer had not mapped and therefore distrusted. The viewer was waiting for delivery at the front door. The source delivered to the side entrance. And the viewer, standing at the front door watching for the expected truck, never answered the knock at the side. This is not the way I imagined. This is one of the most common sentences that precedes rejected delivery. The new channel appears. The unexpected opportunity arrives. The unfamiliar door opens. And the viewer's immediate response is to measure the new delivery against the image they created of how the delivery was supposed to look. When it does not match, the mind says, "This is not the way I imagined." And that sentence, innocent sounding as it is, carries within it the full force of path attachment. The delivery is rejected because the packaging does not match the expectation. And the content, which is exactly what was commanded, goes unclaimed. This does not look like my answer. This sentence is path worship, expressed at the moment of delivery. The viewer has spent months or years asking the source for the desired condition. The source has arranged a channel. The channel has arrived. And the viewer's response is to declare that this does not look like the answer they expected. But the answer was never supposed to look exactly like what the mind imagined. The source is creative. The source is not constrained by the mental image of the delivery mechanism. The condition can arrive through a completely different form than the one imagined, and still be the full and complete fulfillment of the command. This path is too different. When the new channel requires the viewer to move in a significantly different direction from where they have been going, the resistance that arises is the fear of change, wearing the mask of discernment. The different path is not being evaluated on its merits. It is being rejected because it is different. But difference is precisely what a new channel looks like. The definition of a new channel is that it is not the old one. Rejecting new channels because they are new is the most direct possible form of closing the hand that was just opened. This channel is too small. The viewer who expected a large, dramatic delivery may find that the new channel is modest in its initial appearance. A small offer, an unfamiliar audience, a modest fee, a preliminary step. And the mind, which measured the desired condition in large terms, dismisses the small channel as insufficient. But the small channel may be the beginning of the large delivery. The first step on a new route is almost always smaller than the destination. Rejecting the small channel because it does not immediately look like the full vision is the equivalent of refusing to take the first step on a 1,000-mile journey because the first step is only one step. This timing is wrong. The viewer's mind has already decided when the delivery should arrive, and when the new channel appears at an unexpected moment, before the viewer felt ready, after the viewer had stopped expecting it, at a time that requires immediate response rather than comfortable deliberation, the mind reaches for its timeline and declares the timing wrong. But the source does not deliver on the schedule constructed by anxiety. The source delivers through the channel that is currently most suitable and most available. And when the channel is ready, the timing is the source's timing, which may not match the viewer's calendar. This person is unexpected. The new channel may arrive through a person the viewer did not expect, did not plan for, and did not include in their strategic analysis of possible delivery mechanisms. A stranger, someone from an unrelated field, someone younger or older than expected, someone in a different geographical or social position than imagined. And the viewer, whose mental image of delivery involved specific types of people in specific roles, may dismiss this person before exploring whether they are the vehicle of the next stage of the desired condition's arrival. This requires me to change. This is perhaps the most honest rejection sentence. It names the actual cost of accepting the new delivery. The new channel requires something from the viewer. A different skill, a different identity, a different relationship with their own capabilities, a different version of themselves than the one who has been gripping the old route. And the viewer, attached not only to the path but to the version of themselves that the path required, resists because the new delivery demands growth. But growth in the direction of the desired condition is not a burden. It is the fulfillment of the desire in its deepest form. There is a specific fear signal that operates inside path attachment, and it speaks in a very recognizable voice. It says, "If I release this, I lose everything." Hear that sentence and recognize it as a signal, not as a truth. It is not a report from the source. It is not a spiritual warning. It is the fear mechanism, doing exactly what it was designed to do, which is to protect the existing state by amplifying the perceived danger of change. The sentence feels absolute. It feels final. It feels like the voice of wisdom delivering an urgent warning. But it is the voice of attachment, and attachment speaks loudest at the exact moment when release would be most beneficial. This is my only chance. Another fear sentence that carries the grammar of scarcity. One chance, one path, one moment, after which nothing is possible and the desire is gone forever. But the source does not operate on the grammar of scarcity. The source does not have one chance per person. The source has infinite channels, infinite timing, infinite creativity in the delivery of what has been commanded with clarity and faith. The sentence, "This is my only chance," is not a spiritual discernment. It is a panic response to the appearance of possible loss. And panic is not an accurate interpreter of what is available. No other path exists. This sentence is the clearest possible statement of path worship. It is the mind announcing that it has calculated all available routes and found only one. But the mind can only calculate what is currently visible, and what is currently visible is not the full inventory of what is available. The source has more paths than the mind can see from its present position. The sentence "no other path exists" is not a description of reality. It is a description of the limits of the mind's current perception, and perception can change the moment the grip on the one visible path is released. I cannot start again. This sentence carries the weight of identity. It says that beginning again requires a version of the self that no longer exists or was never available. But starting again is not a return to the beginning. It is a movement from the present position, which includes all of the development and learning and preparation that happened along the old path, toward the desired condition through a new route. The viewer, who has spent years on one path, does not lose those years by releasing the path. They carry forward everything those years produced. They start the next stage of the journey from where they actually are, not from zero. What if Source does not replace it? This fear sentence asks the question that underlies all path attachment. It is the question about whether the Source can be trusted beyond the specific evidence of one visible channel. And the answer, in the language of Wattles and the Masters, is clear. The Source has no shortage of channels. The formless substance is not running low on delivery mechanisms. The invisible supply is not limited by the closing of one visible arrangement. What if Source does not replace it? Is a question that can only be asked by someone who has not yet fully understood the nature of the infinite supply from which all channels draw. The Source replaces roots the way an ocean replaces a single wave. What if I am wrong? This is the fear signal wearing the costume of humility. It presents itself as appropriate caution, as the honest acknowledgement of human fallibility. But in the context of releasing path attachment, the question is not really about whether the release is the right move. It is about whether the Source can be trusted enough to act on the release rather than simply feeling it. And the answer the Masters consistently gave is, act anyway, not recklessly, not without thought, but act. Because faith that does not produce action is not yet functioning as faith. It is still functioning as analysis, and analysis alone does not move supply. The corrective line for every fear signal is the same. Say it now. I keep the vision, but I release the root. The correction practice begins with identification. Identify the specific path attachment that is currently operating. Not in general terms. Name it specifically. Is it an employer, a client, a business model, a platform, a relationship, a strategy, a timeline? Name the specific thing to which your trust has been transferred from the Source. Because until the specific attachment is named, the correction remains a generality. And generalities do not break specific grips. The naming is the beginning of the release. It is the act of seeing clearly what has been happening beneath the surface of all the planning and forcing and monitoring. Separate the desire from the root. Once the attachment has been named, perform the separation deliberately. Write it, speak it, state clearly. The condition I desire is blank, and my attachment is to blank as the root, not the condition. Feel the difference between the two. Let the desired condition remain fully present, fully valued, fully alive in your inner experience. And let the root become what it always was, a temporary, flexible, replaceable mechanism for moving toward the condition. The separation does not diminish the desire. It restores its independence from the mechanism. Speak the release phrase. Not once, not quietly. Aloud, with intention, with genuine spiritual sincerity. I keep the vision, but I release the root. Let the words be a command given to the inner agreement that has been housing the attachment. Let them be the specific verbal act that signals to the deepest part of your inner life that the agreement has changed. The path is no longer the Source. The Source is the Source. The path is a flexible, temporary, replaceable vehicle. The vision is permanent, clear, and held with full certainty. Say the phrase and mean it. Stop one forcing behavior. After the verbal declaration, identify one specific forcing behavior that has been maintaining the path attachment. The fifth message that has gone unanswered and has not been sent yet. The additional investment in the channel that has consistently not performed. The continued pitch to the prospect who has consistently not responded. The additional revision of the strategy that has already shown its limits. Identify one specific behavior and stop it. Not forever. Not as a judgment of the past, but as a present act of alignment with the release that has just been declared. The stopping of one forcing behavior is the first physical expression of the inner shift. Notice one new possibility. After stopping the forcing behavior, turn the attention outward with genuine curiosity and notice one new possibility that has been present but invisible behind the wall of the old attachment. It may be small, it may be unfamiliar, it may not look exactly like the delivery mechanism that was expected. But notice it, write it down, let it exist in your awareness as a real potential channel rather than dismissing it because it was not part of the original plan. The noticing is the first act of the perception that release opens. It is evidence offered to the inner life that the source was already moving while the grip was in place. Take one small step toward it. The correction practice is not complete until action is taken. Not a large action, not a total commitment. One small step toward the new possibility that was just noticed. An inquiry, an exploration, a first conversation, a preliminary attempt, a single movement in the direction of the open door. This step does not mean abandoning the vision. It means acting on the visible evidence that the source is navigating toward a new channel. And the person who acts on the nearest open door, even in a small way, is practicing the certain way with more precision and power than the person who has understood every principle but taken no step. The transformation this teaching is designed to produce is not merely a change in strategy. It is a change in identity. The viewer who has completed this teaching must now inhabit a new inner position, not the identity of someone who is loyal to one path, not the identity of someone whose prosperity depends on one specific arrangement of visible circumstances, but the identity of a person who is firm in vision and flexible in path. This is the new financial identity, not a rigid attachment to one mechanism of supply, but an unwavering commitment to the desired condition held with the certainty of someone who trusts the source rather than the channel. My desire is clear. This is the first statement of the new identity. Not my strategy is clear, not my path is clear, my desire is clear. The vision, the definite mental image of the desired condition, is held with full clarity and full conviction. This clarity is not contingent on the current status of any visible channel. The desire is clear when the job is stable. The desire is clear when the job is threatened. The desire is clear when the path changes. The desire is clear when the route is uncertain. The clarity of the desire is the inner constant around which everything else in the new identity is organized. My route is open. This is the second statement of the new identity. Not my route is planned. Not my route is defined. My route is open. The path is flexible, responsive, available to the navigation of the formless substance, and not enslaved to the preference of the anxious mind. An open route does not mean no route. It means a route held with the spiritual posture of someone who trusts that the best available path is being made available by the intelligence that sees more than the eye can see. Open route is the posture of faith expressed in practical terms. I trust Source more than I trust one path. This is the core declaration of the new identity. Not I trust this employer, not I trust this business model, not I trust this platform or this client or this strategy. I trust Source. I trust the invisible intelligence behind all visible channels. I trust the formless substance that moves through multiple routes simultaneously toward the receiver who is aligned and open and faithful. This trust is not naive. It is the hard-won, deliberately chosen, consciously practiced trust of someone who has understood the mechanism of invisible supply and made the inner decision to align with it. The new financial identity is not passive. The viewer who inhabits this identity acts. They plan, they build, they engage, they develop. But they do all of this from the interior position of someone whose certainty is located in the source rather than in any one visible mechanism. And because the certainty is in the source, it does not collapse when the mechanism changes. It does not shatter when the route shifts. It does not panic when one channel closes and the new one has not yet fully appeared. It waits with expectancy, acts with faithfulness, and receives with openness. because the identity that holds it is strong enough to sustain the trust through the gap between the closing of one door and the opening of the next. The new identity becomes the outer life. This is the principle Alan taught with such precision. The outer world is the mirror of the inner condition. The identity held at the deepest level of the inner life is the condition from which the outer reality takes its shape. A person who identifies as someone dependent on one visible channel will live the anxiety and limitation of that dependency. A person who identifies as someone supported by an infinite source through unlimited channels will live the freedom and expectancy of that trust. The identity is not merely a belief, it is the causal factor. It is the inner command from which the outer delivery is organized. The teaching has covered substantial ground, and before the final integration, the major principles must be restated with clarity. The desire is sacred. The vision you carry, the definite mental image of the condition you wish to inhabit, is the command sent to the formless substance. It is the spiritual cause from which the desired condition flows. It must be held with unwavering clarity and sustained with the gratitude that accompanies genuine expectancy. The desire is not the problem. The desire is the thing being protected by this entire teaching. The route is flexible. The path through which the desire might arrive is a temporary arrangement of visible circumstances. It is not the desire itself. It is not the source of the desire. It is one of an infinite number of possible channels through which the formless substance can deliver what has been commanded. When the route changes, the desire does not die. When the path closes, the supply does not end. The route is flexible, replaceable, and always a servant of the command rather than its master. Path attachment blocks perception. The grip on one route saturates the viewer's perceptual attention with the monitoring of one channel. This saturation is the direct mechanism by which new channels are made invisible. The perception that is fully deployed in the service of one attachment cannot scan the environment for emerging possibilities. The grip does not merely create inner suffering. It creates a practical blindness to the very channels through which the source is attempting to redirect the supply. Release opens channels. When the grip loosens, the perception becomes available. The attention that was saturating one channel is freed to notice others. The spiritual peripheral vision that had been narrowed to a single point opens again. And in the newly available perceptual field, channels that were always present but invisible begin to register as real, available, and worthy of faithful engagement. Release is not passive. It is the active creation of the condition in which new channels can be noticed, engaged, and walked through. Source can replace roots. The formless substance that operates beneath all visible arrangements is not limited by the ending of any one arrangement. It can create new channels. It can redirect existing channels. It can align circumstances in ways that the conscious mind could not have predicted or planned. The source's capacity to replace roots is not diminished by the fact that one route has ended. The source's capacity is infinite, and the command that has been clearly held with faithful expectancy is not abandoned when one channel closes. It is served by the opening of the next. The vision survives release. This is the central promise of this entire teaching, and it must be stated in the recap with full authority. When the path is released, the vision does not die. The vision is independent of any specific route. The vision lives in the command, in the held mental image, in the deep certainty of the inner life that knows the desired condition is real and is moving toward expression. The route can change 100 times. The vision remains, because the vision is not housed in the path. The vision is housed in the soul of the person who holds it. You have been afraid that releasing the path would mean losing the dream. That fear was understandable. It was born from genuine love for the desired condition, from the genuine investment you have made in pursuing it, from the genuine pain of not yet having it. The fear spoke in the language of protection. It said, "Hold on or everything is lost," and you listened, because love for a dream produces the desire to protect it. But the protection the fear was offering was not real protection. It was the illusion of control over an outcome that was always in the hands of the invisible intelligence behind all channels. Releasing does not mean losing. This must be received all the way in, not intellectually, not as a comforting thought for the surface, but as a deep, body-level, soul-level reception of a true and important spiritual principle. The release of the path is not the abandonment of the dream. It is the removal of the cage that was confining the dream to one shape, one size, one direction. The dream does not lose substance when the cage opens. It gains freedom. It gains the spaciousness to arrive in the form most suited to its full expression. The release is the gift, not the danger. It means making space for the desire to come in a form the viewer could not control. This is the gift that the false safety trap was preventing the viewer from receiving. All of the over-control, all of the forcing, all of the obsessive monitoring of one channel was an attempt to manage the delivery of something that was always too large to be confined to one visible mechanism. The desired condition in its fullness, the financial peace, the creative impact, the abundant supply, is larger than any one route. It requires a space larger than the one route can provide, and release creates that space. Release says to the formless substance, I am ready to receive this in its fullness, not just in the portion that fits through the specific door I selected. The desire you carry is not fragile. This is important for the viewer who has been treating the vision as something so delicate that any disruption in the route would shatter it. The vision you carry is more resilient than the most difficult path you have ever faced. It has survived years of uncertainty, years of forcing, years of path attachment and grip and anxiety. It is still here. It is still alive. It is still moving toward expression. It was not destroyed by the difficulty. It will not be destroyed by the release. The desire is one of the most persistent things in the inner life. It does not need your constant protection. It needs your faithful cooperation. The path you are releasing was not the prison. The path was a vehicle. But the grip was the prison. The anxiety was the cage. The attachment was the wall that was confining both you and the desire to one small, increasingly airless corridor of possibility. When you open the grip, when you release the attachment, when you declare with sincere faith, I keep the vision, but I release the route, you are not stepping into danger. You are stepping out of the prison. You are stepping into the larger territory of source-managed possibility. And that territory is not empty. It is full of channels that the source has already identified as capable of delivering what you have commanded. This is not the end of the journey. The release of one path is not the conclusion of the work. It is the beginning of a new and more spacious phase of the work. A phase in which the vision is held with the same certainty, but the route is held with new freedom. A phase in which action is taken without the desperation of someone whose only hope is one specific channel. A phase in which new doors are walked through with the faithful curiosity of someone who knows that the source knows the territory better than the plan does. The desire is alive, the source is moving, the hand is open, and the delivery is already in progress through channels that you have only just begun to be able to see. For 7 days, beginning today, you will practice the declaration that this teaching has been building toward, not once a day as a mechanical repetition, but as a genuine, intentional, spiritually grounded declaration spoken from the place of authentic desire and authentic trust. Say it each morning before the plans of the day take over the attention. Say it each evening when the fear of the next day begins to surface. Say it at any moment during the day when the grip tightens and the anxiety of one specific path begins to claim the attention that belongs to the source. Say these words, I keep the vision, but I release the route. During these 7 days, write down one path you are genuinely willing to release, not a small, easy thing you were already letting go of comfortably. The real one, the one the grip has been tightest around, the one whose release feels like the most threatening movement in the direction of trust. Write it with your full name, if that is what is needed to make it real. Write what the path has meant to you. Write what you are afraid will happen when you release it. And then write the declaration again. I keep the vision, but I release the route. Let the writing be the act of spiritual intention made physical. Let the physical act be the seal on the inner declaration. On each of the 7 days, perform one specific releasing behavior. Let the old route rest for 1 day. Answer one unexpected inquiry. Take one small step toward the new channel that appeared after the release was practiced. These are the daily physical expressions of the inner movement. They are the ways in which the spiritual law, understood in theory, becomes active in practice. The inner state that Wattles described as the causal condition of all outward supply is not created by ideas alone. It is created by ideas lived out through consistent, faithful, daily action that aligns with the trust rather than the fear. By the seventh day, something will have shifted. Not necessarily in the visible world, though the visible world often responds with surprising speed to genuine inner alignment. Something will have shifted in the interior relationship between you and the desire. The grip will feel different. The anxiety of one root will have loosened enough to allow the perception of something new. The fear sentence that said, "If I release this, I lose everything," will have been replaced, at least in part, by something quieter and more spacious. And in that spaciousness, the source will have room to navigate the delivery of what you have commanded with the clarity and faith that this teaching has been designed to restore. Now is the moment to let this teaching become real in a specific, named, spoken way. Below this teaching, in the comments, write the root you are releasing, not the vision, the root. Name the specific path you have been gripping, the employer, the client, the platform, the strategy, the person, the timeline, and declare it released. Let the comment be your spiritual act of claiming the freedom this teaching was designed to give you. Let it be witnessed by others who are making the same movement, who are sitting with the same grip, who are releasing the same kind of attachment toward the same quality of trust. The community of release is powerful. Your name declaration may be the signal that someone else needed to make their own. When you comment, you do not need to write the story of the path you are releasing. A single line is enough. Write, "I release blank," or write, "I keep the vision, but I release blank," or write, "I release the path." And let that be the first public act of the new identity that this teaching has been constructing in you. The new identity that holds the desire with certainty and the root with openness. The identity that trusts the source over any specific visible arrangement. The identity that can say, with genuine spiritual grounding, that the closing of one door is not the end of the desired condition, but the beginning of the navigation toward the next door. If this teaching reached something in you that needed to be reached, subscribe to the Master's legacy. Stay close to the teachings that do not merely encourage but diagnose, that do not merely comfort but transform, that do not merely affirm your desire but clarify the spiritual laws through which the desire moves toward expression. Share this teaching with someone who is gripping a path that has stopped delivering, someone who has confused the channel with the source, someone who is exhausted by the vigil at a closed door and ready to turn and see the open one. These teachings exist to be shared because the spiritual laws revealed in them are not private property. They are universal truths that belong to anyone willing to receive them. Remember this. At the beginning of this teaching, you were told that there is a path you may need to release before the thing you desire can finally reach you. You were told that the desire may be right and the grip may be the problem. You were told that the desire is sacred and the root is flexible. All of that was the opening of a truth that has now been developed, examined, challenged, and given a practical protocol through which it can be lived. The opening was not a trick. The opening was the precise spiritual diagnosis that this entire teaching was built to justify and resolve. You are not releasing the dream when you release the path. Hear this one final time, with the full weight of everything this teaching has covered, not as the comforting reassurance of someone who wants to make the release easier, as the precise, spiritually grounded, law-based truth of how the formless substance and its channels actually operate. The dream is not in the path. The dream is in you. It is in the vision you hold, in the command you have given to the invisible intelligence behind all visible things, in the desire that has survived every difficulty and every closed door and every fearful moment when you almost stopped trusting the source. The dream is in you and it cannot be released by releasing the root. When you release the path, you do not lose the desire. You free it from the prison of one visible road. The prison opens, the desire breathes, the source navigates. The hand that was clenched becomes the hand that receives, and what arrives through the open hand may be more fully aligned with the commanded vision than anything the gripping hand was holding could ever have delivered. The path had to be released so the promise could breathe, and the promise freed at last from the cage of one root moves toward you now through every open channel the source has prepared for its arrival.